Alright guys, Danny Half with Half Rods Builds. Wanted to do a video today on new gas tank, fuel tank for a 55, 56, 57 Chevrolet car. I actually watched a video on YouTube of a guy that he does not work on those cars, but he did work on one, and he put a new gas tank in. Anyway, so I thought I'd do a video to show what you really need to do if you're going to put one of these in yourself. They are very easy to put in it yourself. There's nothing to them. There's a couple of 9/16 nuts at the very rear. Take those out and undo your fuel line, and it's pretty much a dropout deal. It will have a fill tube connected behind the gas door with one 7/16 headed screw. It goes in like that. You just slip it out. It has an O-ring on it that you'll want to replace. So anyway, when you get your old tank out, it's probably going to be cruddy and nasty. Also, on your fill tube, you'll want to look at the very bottom of this. Now this goes in like this. You want to look at the bottom of that because I've seen these rusted out really bad here before. Now they do sell these new, so you can buy one of those as well. One thing I will tell you is on this channel right here where the O-ring goes, it has a seam on it. Now this is an original that I've cleaned up. It always has a pretty hard line right there, and I always take a little fine file and go in there and file that smooth. It'll seal. You don't have to do that. It's just what I do. Anyway, so when you buy a new gas tank, it will come with a bag in the bottom of the box like this. It'll come with screws, it'll come with a tank O-ring, and it'll come with a sending unit gasket that is rubber. So if you do not want it to leak, when you buy your gas tank and sending unit, buy all the other stuff separate. Do not use the stuff that come in that box. Use a cork sending unit gasket. These seal like crazy, and I know guys will argue that their rubber doesn't leak. That didn't sound right. Get the cork. I think, personally, the biggest problem for these is the screws that come with the gas tank. They are definitely incorrect, and I got into an argument about 2 years ago over this deal. This is what comes with the gas tanks, the new ones. It's just a Phillips or flat, just a basic screw. Factory ones are clutch head, looks like a figure 8. See that little copper sealing washer on there? I think that is why they leak. But I always replace them with a cork gasket and reproductions of the original clutch head screws with the copper sealing washers. The bad part is you have to have clutch head screwdriver set. If you don't have any, you're going to need them. Now, especially if you've got a 55, 6, or 7 and you're completely disassembling it to restore it, you're going to need the 4. It's just a set of 4 that most of the suppliers for Tri-5 Chevys have, but the one in particular for the gas tank is 3/16. There are other sizes on dash parts and stuff like that, so you're definitely going to need them. Anyway, so now I have used the O-rings. That bag will usually come with 2 O-rings. When you buy your gas tank, it'll come with them. I have used the O-rings before. They do work just fine. But when you compare it to one, say from H&H, this is from H&H, this is what comes in the kit, you can see pretty much diameter difference. But again, I have used the ones that came with the gas tank and they work just fine. Now, the biggest thing is lubrication. You want to lubricate any O-ring you put in anything, you want to lube it, in my opinion, automotive. I also put a little bit of this on my new cork gasket. And you know, where your fill tube goes in right here, I always put a lot of it on my finger and go around that. I put it on the O-ring and then I put it in the channel as well, because you can't have too much lube. If you don't have any petroleum jelly, you do not want to go to the store. You could probably use a little wheel bearing grease. I don't see any problem with that. You can probably use just about anything. You can use Astroglide, KY jelly, you can use anything you wanted. But you definitely want to lubricate that stuff. Now, if you've got a carbureted 5, 6, or 7 Chevy, and I'm not going to touch on fuel injection because I'm a carburetor guy, there's basically 2 sending unit styles. There's a 5/16, which is for a straight 6, or 3/8 line, and that's just for your average V8. Now, a lot of times you're going to run into a problem. If you haven't had your car since new, somebody could have swapped a V8 where your 6-cylinder car, it was originally a 6 and they put in a V8. So your fuel line on the frame is going to be 5/16, and you may have a 5/16 sending unit. Now the car will run and drive. I've done it. It'll run and drive just fine. And if you want to get out there and burn rubber and rip it around, you probably want to change out to 3/8 line to where you can get a little bit more fuel. So anyway, just to touch on this, the reason I think it is very important to use the correct screws and a cork gasket. You don't get any leaks that way. I haven't, out of all of them I've put in. I have fixed several of other people's cars that they had a leak. I had one guy in particular mess with his car for several days and he couldn't figure it out. He thought his drain plug on the bottom was leaking because the fuel will leak down into this channel right here and run around down and get down there and basically go pretty much to where your plug is. So he thought his plug was leaking and it was actually coming out up here. And he done the same thing, bought a new gas tank and sending unit and just used the stuff that came with it. So I would say average price to switch out your gas tank sending unit and buy all these other pieces is probably going to be in the neighborhood of around $300. So just plan on having $300 when you go to buy that stuff. The reason that this is important, I changed the gas tank sending unit on a 55 Chevy of my own here in 2001. We just moved here to this house and it has a 2-car garage that's insulated and everything. So I put a new gas tank and sending unit in the car, put a couple gallons of gas in it, and started up. Didn't get any leaks. Wasn't enough gas in the tank to get it up here to where this would leak. So I drove it up the gas station, filled up the tank, I took it out and drove it. I come back, climbed under the car. I just bent down and looked under, I didn't see anything. So thought I was good to go. Parked the car in the garage. I come out the next day and I opened the garage door and the smell of raw fuel hit me in the face. So normally that's probably not a problem other than my hot water tank for my house is in my garage. It is in its own little closet, but there's not a seal on the bottom of that door, and it's just that what if, what if that would have ignited when that hot water tank kicked on. It could have burned the house down, it could have burned my car down, and even worse, it could have killed me and my wife and our dog. So I think that is the main reason, is to me, it's a fire hazard if you're parking your car in your garage. Anyway, so I do know of a guy that told me that he used all this stuff. He never had a problem. Give it time, you'll have a problem, I promise you. I got into, I worked at a shop a couple of years ago, and those guys put in a gas tank and sending unit in a 57 Chevy Bel Air, and they used all the stuff that came in that pack. A couple days later, they noticed they had a fuel leak. So they come and got me, and I walked down there and I told them, you need the correct screws with the copper sealing washers. I said, where's the old gas tank? Take the screws out of it and use the screws. Oh, we already threw it away and they came and got the trash. Okay, we need to order from, like H&H Classic Chevy and order the parts. Oh, we don't want to do that. So they pulled it out, no joke, and sealed it with red RTV silicone. A customer's car. Ain't that something? One of the guys there argued with me that you didn't need that copper sealing washer, but he couldn't answer the question, if the factory put it on there, why'd they use it? Anyway, put a new gas tank sending unit in your car, buy the correct copper sealed washer, clutch head screws, and buy a cork sending unit gasket. Thanks for letting me waste 9 minutes of your time, guys.